Hey guys, welcome back to The Blind Side, and today we're going to discuss how do blind people use modern day technology, such as computers and phones and tablets specifically. Now, for those of you new to me, I am completely blind, and I'm recording this on an iPhone, so if the camera's not in the right position, I apologise. The answer is actually the same for all three things. And when I say tablets, I'm including iPads, iPod Touch, anything like that. And it's with technology called screen reader software. Now, let's go through it step by step. So we'll talk about PCs and laptops first. There are several different screen reader software programs out there, such as ZoomText, which does talk but is predominantly for people that have limited sight, so they can see a little bit, and it zooms the screen to such a size where perhaps, for example, one desktop icon would cover 2/3 of the screen. That's how big you can make it with that program. And the thing to say at the very start of this video is whatever software blind people use, it enables us to use the device in exactly the same way that you would. What I mean by that is, when I talk about screen reader software with some people, they automatically think of text. So if I say I use my iPhone and I can text and whatever, then they think that that's all I can do. But what it actually means is whatever's on the screen, as long as it's labelled properly by the developer, in the case of an app, let's say, the software will read it. So not only can you use text, but you can also use programs like WhatsApp, for example, and send voice messages. You can look at your emails, you can look at your phone, your recent calls, your voicemails, pretty much any app really on the phone. And it's the same with the desktop and websites. You can go on the internet, and I would say 95% of websites are pretty accessible. There are some where buttons aren't labelled, and the big issue is imagery. Any images, obviously the screen reader will just say image, but people have started labelling their images now, so the screen reader will read that label. So let us say, for example, well, you know what it's like on Facebook, someone will post up an image, and my screen reader would say image looks like two people smiling, for example. So that's been a big help with the images. Anyway, I just wanted to make all that very clear. So that we talked a little bit about ZoomText there. I want to go into the software specifically for blind people, and there are three main software developers. There's Window Eyes, there is JAWS, and NVDA. Now, JAWS and NVDA are very similar. I personally use NVDA, and basically, as I said, it will read out whatever's on the screen, and then I would use my keyboard as you would. So the only big difference is if I'm using, let's say I'm going through my desktop, whereas you would use your mouse and double click on an icon to open it, let's say Microsoft Office Word, for example. What I would do is I would Alt Tab. Let's say I've got TW Blue, which is a Twitter client, open, and I've also got Internet Explorer open. If I Alt Tab, I can go through those windows. So You know how you've got the taskbar at the bottom of the page, and you can click on the item, the different window in the taskbar, and it'll pull it up. I'm just Alt-tabbing through the windows. Alt-tab once, and I'm on Internet Explorer. Alt-tab again, I'm back to my desktop. Alt-tab again, and I'm on TW Blue. If I want to get straight to the desktop, I can hold down the Windows key and press D, and that will highlight. That will put the focus on the desktop. Then all I do is use my arrows to arrow around the icons, or I press the first letter of the icon. In this case, we're talking about Microsoft Office Word, so M I would press, and let's say I had Mozilla Firefox. It would work alphabetically, so that would be the first thing that it said. So I'd press M again, and then it would say Microsoft Office Word, and all I do is hit enter on it, and it opens. So it's really not that different to using a mouse. And then, of course, once it's open, I can access all of the features. And again, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but, you know, let's say you have got a Word document open, and you want to save it. Well, what would you do? You would click File with your mouse, and, you know, click Save As, and then type it in. Well, all I do is I press the Alt key, and that highlights the menu bar at the top, and I'm on File automatically. So then I arrow down, I press S, and then type in the file name and hit enter, and that's it. That's it. But there are always shortcuts as well. So, for example, if I press Control and S, that will bring up the save as. That will automatically save it for me. Control and P will print it. You know, Control and O will open a new document. So a lot of shortcuts built in to speed up blind people on computers, to the point now where, to be honest, we can use it just as fast as a normal sighted person. It's absolutely brilliant. So that is laptops and PCs. So let's now talk about mobile phones and tablets. This is not as straightforward, all right? In the olden days, there was a program called Nuance Talks and Zooms, and this was before the age of the touchscreen phone, and it only worked on certain models, mostly Nokia models. It worked on a couple of Samsung models as well. So what you would do is you would buy your phone, and then you'd have to pay another £250 for this software to be put on. And again, very much in the same way as the computer, it basically just reads out whatever's on the screen. And again, there were shortcut keys. There was a button assigned, which you called a Talks button, which if you press that and then another key after it, that was a shortcut to open something or edit something, or, you know, write a message or whatever. But it wasn't brilliant, and you know, for its time it was brilliant, but now when you look back it wasn't. And the reason I say that is because the majority of blind people now either have a Samsung or an iPhone, and certainly in my experience I would say it's about 75 to 25 in favour of the iPhone. Why do people have these phones? Well, because if you have an iPhone, and I'm going to talk specifically about that now. I know that Samsung does have the same feature, but I don't know how you access it. But you can have a play around yourself. If you go into your settings on your iPhone and go into General and then Accessibility, you'll see something called VoiceOver. If you turn that on, your phone will start talking to you. How is it different to using the phone without VoiceOver on? Well, it's quite simple. The main difference is obviously that you'll hear the voice. The only other big difference is that instead of tapping the screen to open an app, you double tap with your finger. Now, I'm going to touch the screen now, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this. So at the moment, I'm videoing this, so I'm in the camera video. Sorry, the camera app.
Viewfinder, focus unlocked. Image.
Viewfinder focus unlocked. Now, there are two ways that you can use VoiceOver. You can move your thumb around the screen or finger. The way I do it is swipe.
Take picture, button.
I just swipe right, and it will just go to the next item in the list. So take picture.
Stop recording video.
Stop recording video. I don't want to do that just yet.
Stop recording video.
And that's right at the bottom of the screen. And it does that in any app. I mean, you can look in the phone app, the mail app, the music app, any of the Apple apps, things like Messenger, Facebook, Twitter. The only apps where VoiceOver really struggles is games. There are certain games that have been designed to work with VoiceOver, and therefore blind people can play them. But I would say probably 90% of games in the App Store are not accessible, mainly because they're video-based games. So again, VoiceOver won't understand what it is. The Samsung works in exactly the same way. I believe that the Nokia phone, the Nokia Lumia, has a similar product. I'm not 100% on that. But really, the technology available today to enhance blind people's experience with the product is unbelievable compared to where we were 20 years ago. And Apple are really the pioneers, because they put that VoiceOver, this VoiceOver that I use,
11 minutes, 45 seconds.
right? They put all of that in all of their packages. So it's on the Apple Mac, it's on the iPod Touch, it's on the iPad. I had an iPad Air 2 last year, and it works exactly the same as the phone. But, things still need to improve. Nothing's perfect, but it's a work in progress. And I just thought I'd try and explain a little bit about how we can use technology. So, for the first time, really, in history, a blind person is becoming more on par now. We can send text messages. We can make phone calls. We can use apps. We can use social media. It's a great time to be blind in the world. And I don't mean it's great to be blind, but I mean if you were going to choose a time to be blind, it is much better now than it was back in the 90s. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We do one of these every week. How do blind people? And there's loads of other stuff on the channel. I try and do something for everyone here, but keep it all simple. And I've got an itchy nose. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I guess I'll catch you later. And remember, you'll see me before I see you.
Viewfinder, focus unlocked.
God bless,
Image.
guys.
Stop recording video.